A single sheet of paper, brittle with age, holds a fragment of a life. The note is old and rough, its edges frayed like a memory, worn thin by time. The words, penned in an ink that has faded to the color of dried blood, are short, almost clipped. They speak of a woman named Solitude, captured for her part in a rebellion. The ink may be pale, a mere whisper on the page, yet the story it tells is a roar that echoes across centuries. It is a door, small and unassuming, that opens into a world of immense struggle and even greater courage. Her name itself is a declaration, a world contained in a single word, telling of both a lonely path and an unbreakable inner strength. Solitude was born into the brutal reality of slavery around the year 1772. Her birthplace was Guadeloupe, a jewel of an island in the Caribbean archipelago, then a fiercely contested French colony. Life under the French slave code, the Code Noir, was a slow, grinding torment. Enslaved people were considered property, their days measured not in hours, but in the endless labor of sugarcane fields under a relentless sun. The years between 1794 and 1802 were a fleeting, precious breath of air for the people of Guadeloupe. For the first time, former slaves could walk as free men and women, could own small plots of land, could raise their children without the constant, gnawing fear of them being sold away. They worked for themselves, building communities and forging new identities beyond the dehumanizing label of slave. It was an imperfect freedom, shadowed by economic ruin and political instability. Yet, it was real. Solitude, then in her 20s, would have experienced this transformation directly. Freedom was constantly defended. Resistance was a way of life. Marronage flourished, escaped people forming independent communities in rugged interiors. Organized, self-sufficient, prepared to fight for autonomy. The news of Napoleon's decree in 1802 landed like a death sentence. Among those who rose to answer the call was Solitude. She was not a trained soldier or a conventional leader. She was a woman of the people. Her spirit was forged in suffering and resilience. When the ships appeared, promising new chains, Solitude made a choice. She would not hide. She would not submit. She would fight. She took up arms while visibly, heavily pregnant. The image cuts through centuries. Creation and destruction, life-giving and life-taking. Perhaps she fought because she was pregnant, fighting for her freedom and for the child she carried, a child who must never know the whip or the shackle. The army threatened the future inside her. To do nothing was to condemn her child. Her fight became profound, maternal protection, expanded to her people. In joining Louis Delgray, she became a leader. Her presence was a symbol of generations yet to come. The fight was brutal and uneven. The hills became a final sanctuary. Muskets cracked, pistols popped, steel clashed, war cries echoed. The French, trained for conventional war, pushed relentlessly forward. They faced an enemy that melted into the landscape, striking from shadows. Solitude was more than symbol. She led, harried, guided. She knew the land, paths, caves, passes. She tended the wounded, carried messages by night. A paradox, body promising life, facing death. Fatigue, hunger, fear, every step monumental. Yet she persevered. She rejected the dehumanizing colonial narrative, protecting futures. Richepense's forces showed no mercy, burning, destroying, executing. Dwindling numbers, failing supplies, their courage stood against cold brutality. The final stand was a tragedy. Louis Delgray and his remaining followers, cornered at Matuba, chose an explosive act of defiance, igniting their stores to die free. Many French attackers perished with them. The rebellion's fate was sealed. In the aftermath, soldiers hunted survivors through hills and forests. The brief dream of a free Guadeloupe was drowned in blood. Solitude was captured. A few faded lines note her capture and her sentence, death. An ordinance forbade executing a pregnant woman. It would not kill the child, because that child once born would be property. So they waited. Imprisoned, her execution delayed until after birth. She was kept alive to bring forth a life destined for chains. The day after she gave birth, Solitude was taken to be hanged. The archives fall silent on the child and on her final words. For years, the name Solitude was buried, suppressed by a regime eager to erase defiance. The victors wrote histories with no room for a pregnant Black woman who led a revolt. Yet her story survived. Whispers, oral tales, songs in the quiet of night. The 20th century reclaimed memory. Solitude was rediscovered. Writers, poets, historians. Aimé Césaire invoked her spirit. André Schwarz-Bart gave her voice and depth the archives denied. Through art and literature, she was reborn into a national and feminist icon. Her story resonates with new generations confronting slavery's and colonialism's legacies. Her pregnancy became the most potent symbol, life asserted against a system of death. Today, she is no secret. A 1999 statue at the Memorial Actee honors her, one hand on her belly, the other clenched in a fist. Her name graces streets and schools. The story of Solitude matters today in a world still grappling with injustice. Her life asks, who gets to be a hero, whose stories are told, and whose are silenced? History is a narrative that long excluded voices like hers. By telling her story, we challenge the silence. Her courage is as worthy as the battles of generals and kings. Facing an overwhelming force, she did not despair. She stood up. She refused passivity, taking destiny, hers and her child's, into her own hands. Her rebellion was radical hope, believing a different world possible. Action can begin small, gentle. Learn a name. Solitude. Share this story. Tell a child the truth. Support artists, writers, historians who unearth the forgotten. This is how faded ink does not have the final say. How profound loss becomes lasting strength, and one woman's courage becomes a call for justice and freedom for all.